Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Years of the Dragon. I'm your host, Mark Lloyd Masterson, and on this program we talk about everything Bruce Lee. Years of the Dragon is also the title of the book that I wrote, which examines the movies that Bruce Lee might have made had he not passed away so suddenly on July 20th in 1973. I always wondered what he would have accomplished had he lived longer, so I decided to write a book about it. The book is available on Amazon right now. Just search my name, Mark Lloyd Masterson, or Years of the Dragon. The hardcover sells for $15.99 and the paperback version is $12.99. On this episode, I'm going to be discussing Bruce's Wing Chun, which he showcased every week on ABC's The Green Hornet as Kato. Filming for The Green Hornet began in June of 1966. Bruce was working with stuntmen used to working on westerns, so most had no idea about martial arts, let alone Chinese kung fu. Bruce had a tough time adjusting to these stuntmen. He wanted more in-tight combat, and the stuntmen couldn't react to his moves. He was just too fast. Some of them got hurt and didn't want to work on the show again. Bruce had to learn camera angles and learn to throw punches and kicks which landed just millimeters from the target. And as mentioned briefly in a previous episode, Bruce had to actually slow down his kicks and punches after he saw the dailies, which revealed that his lightning fast movements were just a blur on the screen. So once he was able to do that, things went a little bit smoother. Bruce also developed a lasting friendship with stuntman Gene LaBelle, who had been a pro wrestler and a world-class judoka. Gene was the stunt coordinator on the set, and he had the task of harnessing Bruce's extraordinary energy. You can see Gene in several episodes of The Green Hornet as one of the thugs. He's the stocky, red-haired villain. Gene also worked as a stuntman on The Wild Wild West with Robert Conrad. Bruce also loved to show off by performing tricks and stunts in between takes. Van Williams mentioned how Bruce would kick a dime off a 6-foot gimbal and perform his two-finger push-ups. He would also sneak up on people and kick their earlobe gently. You would just feel a slight swish and his foot gently touch the person's earlobe. This went on for some time until the day one of Bruce's intended targets turned his head at the last moment and Bruce dislocated his jaw. So that put a stop to that. Van Williams thought of Bruce as a rambunctious, hyperactive younger brother. He was a good kid, Van added, and he said that Bruce was a loyal friend and never talked bad about anybody on the set. The Green Hornet premiered on September 9th, 1966, with the episode The Silent Gun. It was North America's first glimpse of Britt Reed, publisher of the Daily Sentinel, Kato his valet, and the Black Beauty, the Rolling Arsenal. Critics, though, were not kind. They thought the show was too melodramatic and felt that Van Williams acted as though he were serving a prison sentence. It had none of the over-the-top villains of Batman or the silly dialogue or plots. It also didn't help that the Green Hornet was up against the Wild Wild West on CBS and Tarzan on NBC. At first, the Green Hornet won its ratings time slot against these rivals, but eventually it began to lose ground. However, there was a silver lining for Bruce Lee. Kato proved to be more popular than the Green Hornet's character. Bruce received more fan mail each week than Van Williams. He was embraced by the small but growing martial arts community in America. And almost overnight, Bruce Lee became the most famous martial artist in the country, with invitations to headline karate tournaments and articles in Black Belt magazine. He even had offers to open up a string of Kato Kung Fu schools. As the season progressed, though, the ratings were still poor. At mid-season, ABC chose to keep the show on the air. Producer William Dozier did all in his power to extend the life of the show. He begged ABC to give them a 1-hour time slot. He then got George Trendle's permission to have the Green Hornet and Kato cross over to the Batman for a 2-episode arc as visiting crime fighters to help boost ratings. And there's a great story about the concluding episode of that 2-episode arc. The episode was entitled Batman Satisfaction. And at the conclusion of that episode, the Green Hornet and Kato square off against the dynamic duo Batman and Robin. Now, originally, the Cape Crusaders were supposed to defeat the Green Hornet and Kato in the brawl because, hey, it was their television program. But Bruce scoffed at the notion that Kato would lose to Robin as the Green Hornet fought Batman. When he saw the script, he was very angry, and his complaint went as far as reaching the ears of producer William Dozier, and Dozier came down from his office to hear Bruce's concerns. Dozier then spoke to Van Williams, who personally didn't care who won the fights, but he backed up his friend Bruce. So Dozier said, let's call it a draw. No clear winner. He asked Bruce if he could accept that, and Bruce replied that would be fine. Now, Bruce was friends with Burt Ward. They actually lived in the same building, and Burt Ward played Robin. Burt was also a martial arts enthusiast, and he trained under Bruce. But of course, he didn't have anywhere near the skill or experience that Bruce did. Bruce had heard that Burt was going around telling people that he had a black belt in karate. Now, Bruce decided to have a little fun with Burt. Before shooting commenced, Bruce went around the set telling everyone that he was going to light into Burt and teach him a lesson. By the time they were ready to film the big fight scene, Burt Ward was shaking in his tights. He begged Batman stuntmen to step in if Bruce ripped into him. Now, Bruce swaggered onto the set with a mean look on his face. He paced around in silence, not joking around like he usually did. And when the director yelled action, Bruce moved in on Burt with deadly intentions. Ward started backing up and tried to remind Bruce that it wasn't for real. Kato crowded Robin into a corner, and Ward began jumping up and down, waving his arms in distress. A stuntman yelled out, "It's the Black Panther and the Yellow Chicken." When Bruce heard that, he burst out laughing. The entire crew howled with laughter, and Bruce later said, "Lucky for Robin, that was not for real. Otherwise, he would have been one dead bird." So thanks everyone for tuning in. If you enjoy my videos, be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Also hit the bell and you'll be notified whenever I post something new. There's a sequel to my book coming out, which explores the movies Bruce might have completed from 1981 to 1990. So look for that and check out my book on Amazon. You'll be glad you did. And remember, be water, my friends.